Hello everybody, welcome to the game of the day of round number 2 of Tata Steel Super Tournament. A big event that is taking place in the Netherlands, gathering a lot of big fishes, Magnus Carlsen, Fabiano Caruana, Kramnik, etc, etc, etc. And the round 2 has been extremely exciting. I really had a lot of difficulties in order to choose which game to analyze, but I think I chose a big fight and a really interesting game that actually happened between Wei Yi, the 18th Chinese superstar, and Peter Svidler. As you guys know, he's become Russian champion for the 8th time in his career, and it's also working with us in Chess24. You can see him recording video series or playing Battle Blitz, etc, etc, etc. So there have been a lot of interesting games. Magnus Carlsen won. Also, Anish Giri is leading the tournament with 2 out of 2. But let's just see what happened in this crazy and interesting game between Wei Yi and Peter Svidler. So the Chinese superstar decided to open with d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, and d5. The Grunfeld defense. As you guys know, Peter Svidler the most expert players in the world on the Grunfeld. There is a video series in Chess24. I mean, I don't know, but tons of hours where you can enjoy it. And here there are many possibilities. So the main line goes c takes d5, knight takes d5, and e4. And after knight c3, b takes c3. Black concedes white the center, and later on it wants to destroy it by playing c5, bishop c7, and put a lot of pressure in this center. But after d5, Wei Yi decided to go for bishop g5. This line is also quite interesting. So you put pressure on f6. Of course, you want to take now on f6 and then take on d5 with your knight, so in order not to ruin your pawn structure. And then different possibilities. Bishop g7 is possible. D takes c4 is actually a dubious move, because now you can occupy the center with e4. Later on you are going to recapture the pawn on c4, and then you're going to enjoy a big center. So the main move here after bishop g5 is actually the move knight to e4. Basically now there are different possibilities. You can go bishop f4, you can go bishop h4, or you can also take on e4. But this is not considered to be the best option. After d takes e4, it's gonna actually play bishop g7 and c5, and then look at your king side. Actually, you have a lack of development, and actually you have to be careful in these positions. So after knight e4, white played bishop h4, intending to capture now on d5. That's why black takes on c3, b takes e3, and d takes e4. And now white's plan is quite simple. Normally you want to move your e-pawn, recapture on c4, play knight f3, and play short castle, and then enjoy a good center. But of course, black is not going to make your life so easy. So whenever you play e3 or e4, black is going to do something to try to stop you from recapturing on c4. One could think that actually e4 should be the move here, occupying the center, trying to go bishop c4 in the next move, but actually e4 is not that precise as e3. Let's try to understand the reasons. So if you go e4 here in this position, black now is actually able to play b5, and after a4, black can play c6. And somehow black has managed to hold the pawn on c4. Now it's going to play bishop g7 and short castle and enjoy a pawn up. If you go e3, as in the game, sorry, I'm going to die here, as in the game happened, 5 is actually a bad move in this position, because now after a4, you can never play c6. The reason is quite simple. You take on b5, now it's impossible to recapture on b5. And now you see the reason. After queen f3, the rook on a8 is just lost, right? And white is winning the game. So that's why e3 is maybe a bit more precise than e4. Of course, now black doesn't play b5, but instead he goes bishop e6, trying to defend Carlitos, and it's not going to be that easy for white to recapture. For example, if you go queen a4 check, you can choose between queen d7 or even c6, because now bishop c4 is just impossible because of b5, and then you are gone. You have to go for the shower and go home. So bishop e6, instead white should develop his pieces, and this is what Juanito did, Wei Yi, and he went for knight f3, bishop g7, and now there are two main moves. bishop e2, and the one that Juanito played, queen to b1. This queen b1 controls e4 and also attacks b7. So this actually makes black to choose between two possibilities. b6, this has been played in many top games. For example, one between Ponomarev and Lenier Dominguez continued like knight to g5, bishop d5, e4, and bishop b7. Now black gives back the pawn, but in return he actually has two good bishops, and then he's ready to strike in the center by playing knight c6 and c5 in the next few moves. And black is considered to be more or less okay in this position. So after queen b1, Peter decided to d5, defending b7, and also one could think now, Pepe, what are you talking about? What is this queen d5 move? Now I'm gonna play e4, then d5, and then crush you and your stupid face, yeah? But again, you have to be careful with this guy on g7 that actually can become a real monster. So for example, you go here e4, 5, attacking c3, queen to c2. Second Carlitos brother, you got here Carlitos 1 and Carlitos 2. Carlitos 2, you know, is actually normally quite sad because Carlitos 1 is the favorite of his parents, you know. Carlitos 2 is so shy sometimes, but now he's saying, I'm here, I'm the king of the world, and I'm ruining you the center, c5. It's actually impossible to go d5 or d takes because of c3, and then you're gonna take on d4, and then look at this king on the center, it's so bad placed. So that's why after queen d5 you can never go e4, and instead Juanito goes for bishop e2, developing his pieces, bishop to f5, controlling e4, and now queen to b4. A move that is actually attacking on c4 and attacking and threatening checkmate on e7. Don't go knight e6, knight a6, boom, there is checkmate on e7. There are not so many good moves. If you go knight c6, b7 will fall, and if you go short castle, then b4 followed by bishop e7 will and white will enjoy a better position. So the only good move here for Peter Svidler is actually c5. Actually, Peter Svidler played in this exact position against Levon Aronian in 2009, and in that position Levon Aronian played bishop c6. And now in this position queen d4 is actually a good move. Incredible, right? We'll look at those queens, all of those stacked, but it turns to be a great move. Queen takes d4, and black is more than fine. So after c5, Juanito deviated from that game, and he went queen to b5, forcing bishop d7. Any other move gives white the possibility of taking with c4 with the bishop, and actually will enjoy a better position. So bishop d7, queen takes c4, and now Peter Svidler played bishop c6. Really natural move, putting this bishop in the best diagonal, and now if white takes on d5, bishop takes c4, again this bishop e4, is actually ready to strike in the center with knight c6 or rook d8 even. White is suffering actually in this diagonal. So after bishop c6, Juanito played a really interesting move from my viewpoint. He went queen to b3. Actually, this calm move is actually extremely interesting. Why? Because now, if black queens by playing queen takes b3, 8 takes b3 actually improves white's pawn structure, and then the a file is actually open. You can go short castle, and then maybe later rook d1 or rook fd1, c4, and actually push your pawns in the center. And it's never easy to play for black, since this pawn on e7 is all the time hanging. You can never go short castle that easily. So that's why after queen b3, you don't want to trade queens and improve the white's pawn structure. You should go e6. If you go knight d7, there is boom, bishop c4 attacking f7 and the queen. So you got to go to f5, and then d5 just wins a piece. So that's why after queen b3, black went e6. You want to go short castle in the next move without blundering your pawn on e7, right? And at this point, since you are white is leading in development, so Juanito decides to keep the queens on the board by playing c4, queen d7, and now at this point of the game, Juanito actually plays a really brilliant move, a really interesting move that I never imagined to see at the board. So knight to e5. Well, there are many complications here. So the first thing is actually that after queen c7, Now black's actually threatening to take on e5, but Juanito is not scared about this. Again, if you take on c6 to win the bishop pair, a lot of pressure on d4. So, and after queen c7, this actually move has a lot of poison, because you go bishop g3. Now actually bishop g2 is actually extremely strong, since after rook g1 there is queen a5 check, and you are forced to go with your king to d1, and now bishop e4, black is just crushing. So that's why after queen c7, prices a pawn by playing now. The point is that if you take on e5, d takes e5, and queen e5, look at this bishop pair. You know, this bishop is who wants health, who wants money, who wants to be loved. I want to be loved. I want somebody that loves me. Why do you want that? You have already that bishop on h4, man. You got all those dark squares for you. The thing is that after rook d1, black is in a lot of troubles. If you go knight d7 in order to stop the bishop coming to f6 at f4, you can now go bishop g3, and after queen f6, bishop d6, and black can never go short castling. And if you go long castling, then you're gonna suffer a lot, since the b file is just on. And if you go after short castle, bishop takes e5, takes rook d1, short castling, you can go f4, and after queen c7, e4, another pawn sacrifice. Actually very risky to take it. Well, actually black is losing because of bishop f6. And then the white's plan is actually quite simple. You want to go queen h3 and queen h6. You go knight d7, boom, boom, give it to me. Who's your daddy? Wei Yi is your daddy. So after queen c7, short castle, Peter to go for short castling. Actually, sorry, short castle. But now white is on time to play bishop g3, since g2 is protected. Now there are so many nasty discover moves, so that's why black had to go to queen to b6. And now just rook fd1, protect d4. Again, if you want to trade queens, you are gonna suffer. Now after a takes b3, I'm gonna at some point win the bishop pair, and then look at these two guys here looking at you with beautiful eyes. So Peter went queen a6, actually threatening to go bishop a4 in many positions. So that's why, again, if you take on c6, knight takes c6, a lot of pressure on d4. So that's why Wei Yi played a4, stopping bishop a4 ideas, and now he went knight takes c6. Really natural move, winning the bishop pair, and now black is not able to capture on c6 with the knight increasing the pressure on d4. And now Wei Yi plays a really natural move, rook a1. The threat is quite simple. If you go rook e8, for example, here in this position, the threat is just to play queen to e7. And now, after the trade of queens, look at this rook on the 7th rank, the bishop pair, and more space. What do you want in life, right? So after rook ab1, Peter is actually forced to e takes d4, and now knight b6 in order to stop queen to b7. Well, now white is forced to go rook a1 back in order to defend a4, and this is the moment where actually Peter maybe makes his first serious mistake in the game. He went rook fd8. It was necessary to stop a5 by playing queen a5, blocking the a advanced. And now you want to go rook fd8, rook c8, and then increase your pressure on d4, maybe in the future c5. Of course, white is a bit better, but nothing serious. But the thing is, after rook fd8, a5 is actually quite strong. Peter went knight c8. And now Juanito actually went for a really strong move. There are some problems in this diagonal, right? So he goes for rook a2. Not only removing this rook from this diagonal, but also creating a huge threat, since now the move c5 will actually win the queen. Now e2 is protected, so queen e2 is actually not possible, and you don't have a room for the queen. So if you get greedy, go greedy and take on d4, then c5 just crashing, right? So that's why you have to create a room for your queen, and that's why the knight goes to e7 in order to be able to remove your queen to c8 in case white goes c5, right? So now c5 is not so good anymore, since after queen c8 you also got this beautiful square for your knight on d5. But now Wei Yi decides to create a lot of fireworks in the center. He goes for the move, boom, 5, actually opening the position for your bishop pair. This is actually extremely difficult to play for black. Let's just try to analyze a little bit deeply this position. If you go Queen C8, for example, you can go D6, Knight F5, and C5. Carlitos protecting D6. Even though black manages to get a position with opposite, you see that this pawn on D6, C6 is very weak. You got plans like Bishop F3, Queen A4, for example, and then black is gonna suffer like a beast in this position. So that's why after D5, Peter goes E takes D5, C takes D5, and Queen C8. And now time for another precise move from Juanito. He goes Bishop H4, attacking this knight on E7, the only defender of C6. You can never go Rook E8 because of D6 and D7. So that's why Peter plays Queen C7. You see that now Juanito, Wei Yi, plays the most natural move. He just grabs a pawn. Bishop takes E7 and D takes. And from the last 15 moves, Juanito is creating a lot of pressure. He took his screwdriver from the car, from his Chinese car, and then he started to, to touch Peter Svidler first in his shoulder. Then he went down, then a little bit in the ass, So he's creating a lot of troubles in every position. And now he's a clean pawn up. But of course, there are some drawing chances since you got opposite color bishops. Rook takes E1, Rook takes E1, Rook D8, and Queen C2. Now the next moves are really natural. E5 in order to stop C7, and now he's gonna put the king on G7. The king, on G2, where actually this bishop can never give a check. So G3, B8, King G2, King G7, Queen C1, Bishop F3, Bishop C7, Queen C4, Rook A3. Of course, if black manages to exchange a pair of rooks or a pair of queens, would be much more easier for him to make a draw. But Queen D4 check, Bishop E5, and Rook E2, pinning this bishop, got to take on A5 and Queen D7. And we reach this position where actually black can never take on D7 for obvious reasons, seeing after takes, Bishop F6, Rook E8 just wins a game. But instead, Peter goes for King F8. Of course, if you trade queens now, the king will be very, very close to the C pawn, and now after C7, just King D7, you manage to grab this pawn, and then you will make a draw. But after King F8, Queen C8, very precise move again from Wei Yi. And now the thing is, if you go back to G7, which is the most natural move, perhaps, so you can just go in this position. And if you go for the same idea, now there is a huge baboon. Boom! Ra-da-da-da! Rook takes E5, and now after any capture on E5, C7 just wins the game. So that's why after Queen C8, the move by Peter Svidler, again by Juanito, and now of course you are threatening the same idea. You are threatening to take on E5 followed by C7. So Peter Svidler keeps holding the position with Rook C5. Now of course after Rook E5, Queen takes E5, and you protect C7 with both pieces. At this point, Juanito decides to go for the most natural move: Queen takes E7, Queen E7, and Queen A3. And now black plays H5. It looks like black is holding and is actually avoiding C7. And now is actually where you can see the quality of these players. So Wei Yi actually starts to think, okay, I can never play C7. How about if I just try to bring a rook to D7, and this in combination with the bishop on D5 will be a complete disaster for black, because we'll be threatening to take on F7, and actually there is no way to defend. Of course, Peter Svidler would be much more happier if he had his rook on the 7th rank defending everything, but the rook is on C5, not on C7. So that's why now Juanito starts playing this rook to D7. And of course, Peter Svidler has to avoid it. He plays Bishop D6, Queen D3, both players repeat a little bit. But of course, Juanito doesn't want to draw. queen b3, and now queen b3 is a great move, because if now you stop with bishop d6, queen d1 attacks your bishop, and then rook d7 is gonna come. Again here, one can see the quality of these players, and now you can see the creativity of Peter Svidler in order to create counterplay in this position with black. It's amazing how he creates counterplay in this position. So he goes for rook c3, queen d1, and now rook d7 is coming. He doesn't mind, he goes for h4. Of course, Juanito goes for rook d7, and now black has to be really careful. If you go queen f6, then bishop d5 just wins the game, right? Because of rook takes f7, it's gonna come. But the thing is, Peter goes for queen to g5, a much more trickier move. Now, if you go now bishop d5, actually lose the game with the white pieces. Incredible, because after taking on rook takes 7, king e8. Now after h takes, there is a huge baboon bishop, and black is actually crushing in this position, because after f takes, rook takes. Now after king f1, rook g1, after king f2, queen e3, followed by rook g1, just wins the game. So again, of course, now accurate move, he goes for queen d5, forcing the queen to go to the f file, but Peter goes to f5 this time, creating another threat, h3. Juanito is with 1 minute in the clock, and this is the key moment where he actually makes a decisive mistake. He could actually win the game with the move bishop e4, a not so human move, since you are allowing here in this position. So h3, king f1, and it turns out that if you go rook c1, just king e2, there are more checks. You go to h5 or g4, just f3, and then there are so many threats. The bishop, checkmate on f7, c7, black has to resign. But instead, Juanito went for the most human move, bishop g. You're actually avoiding this h3 move. But the thing is, now after queen f6, now white has more troubles. Why? Because yes, you have managed to stop. Since you have removed the bishop from the f file, now rook c2 could come with a lot of counterplay, and most important, the c6 pawn is gonna fall. There's no way to defend the c6 pawn in the next move. The only way to defend is by playing f4, a really interesting move by Wei Yi again. But now Peter finds another brilliant way of creating counterplay. He sacrifices the bishop by playing bishop takes f4, takes rook f3, and now king h3, rook c3, again check, and if you another check. Of course, you can never escape by f2, since queen f4 comes with a check. So basically, you have to go for bishop d1, queen f4, and now actually c7 is actually controlled with these two pieces, the queen and the rook, and actually there are many checks. So Juanito has to go for the trade of queens. You can do it by rook d8 and then queen d4 check, or queen d4 straight away. Since now if you remove the queen, king h1, and there is checkmate, so you got to go for the trade of queens, rook takes e4 and rook takes c6. And who could? It's a draw. Well, it's actually a dead draw. Let's just try to explain why. Well, black's plan is very simple. You want to put your king on g7 and a rook on f6, for example, and there is no way to attack f7, the only weakness from black. And again, if you exchange rooks, it's also a draw. Even if these two pawns are missing, it will be a dead draw, since your pawn will promote in a different square from the bishop square. So this bishop is from the light squares, and then this pawn promotes on a dark square. So that's why this is a dead draw. And incredibly, Peter saved this game, being under pressure in 40 moves. I don't know. Juanito did it extremely well. Of course, they played many more moves, but this is we can go through the moves. We can go through the moves, and sorry, let me, yes, now you can see the board properly. So they went through the moves, many more moves, but nothing to do. This rook on f6 is extremely well placed, and finally, after 120 something moves, they made the draw. Let's just go till the end. And yes. So I hope you guys enjoyed the game. I think it has been really interesting from the theoretical point of view. Also, the middle game has been extremely precise, played by Juanito Weyi. Remember, you can follow all the action from Chess24, all the games, some commentary in English and Spanish in our site. And then hope you guys enjoyed this game of the day. Just remember, if you drink, don't drive. Then you make the car dirty. Bye bye. See you and be good, my friends.